Dead fish in the hundreds and thousands of tons. Where did they come from and what is it all about? With me, I think I can say probably one of the best known journalists and documentary makers in Poland. Is that right? Eva?
Well, one of.
One of. Your modesty knows no bounds. Eva, you've just produced another award-winning documentary, Until the Last Drop, about rivers around the world, including this great big scandal and true tragedy, really, that happened in Poland on a Polish river. I must declare an interest that I was actually doing the English language voiceover for this particular
And a very nice one, thank you.
Available at competitive rates. Eva, can you tell us about this documentary, Until the Last Drop? It's made waves, if that's not too much of a metaphor, around the world, won lots of awards as well. It seems like a very timely piece. Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, I'm a bit overwhelmed, and I would love to take you to the very beginning, because I'm asked this question quite often. And actually the idea came from a river which I visited deep in the Ecuadorian Amazon quite a few years ago when I was making another film. And there was this indigenous leader who took me to a river which was the only source of fresh, clean water for the indigenous community. And he put the white latex glove and just passed it on the surface of the river. And what I saw next was this kind of oily, greasy, black, spot, and it was the residues of oil. And that was, as he said, quote unquote, this is what the oil industry left us, in this jungle, and this is the only source of water. And I was really shaken, the juxtaposition of this sort of amazing beauty of Amazon jungle and this dirty river, the only source of water. So I think that the idea started germinating then, and then I remember, fast forward, and I was watching this footage with my picture editor. And when we were editing the previous film, and when it came to that sequence, he looked at it and said, Eva, next film is about water. And this is how it all started, and I remember very vividly, I started working on this idea at the beginning of the pandemic. So in a way, pandemic and the lockdown came quite handy because I didn't have better thing to do, but just sat firmly on my sofa and trying to figure out how to make a film about water. Because film about water is like water, right? And then, without, going into too many details, around 2021, end of 2021, I came across an amazing report. It was a result of 4 years' work of the international group of scientists who decided to look at the condition of rivers globally. And when I started and reading that report, I was absolutely taken aback and gobsmacked because it turned out that, the rivers are in abysmal condition worldwide. But actually, some of the biggest problems with rivers we have not in the faraway countries, third world countries. We have them in Europe, our civilized, developed Europe. And that's what gave me, the best idea. That's how I decided to concentrate. First of all, I decided that I'm going to tell the story of water through rivers. Not only that, but through rivers in Europe. And mostly, if you remember from the film, we are in Europe, except from at the very end, I go to Canada, but for a very specific reason, to give an idea and give an inspiration what rivers should be treated like.
So I'm thinking if someone's listening to this thinking, yeah, I don't really go to rivers very often. It's not a big deal. I kind of knew they were a bit polluted anyway, but there's a big sea out there. You show in this documentary that people's lives have been destroyed by poisoned rivers. Cancer, not to mention many other illnesses as well. So what would you say to people who go, oh, no big deal?
Well, I think it's a very unwise, to say the least, very cavalier attitude, which shouldn't be. Because, if you think about it, rivers, it's only just barely 1% of the total of water that covers the surface of Earth, yeah? You look at the Earth and think, well, blue planet, there's water everywhere. Why should we bother about water? But you don't think, because we don't talk enough about it, that the only source of water that actually we, humans, need for our existence is in the rivers and also groundwater, but that's another part of the story. And rivers is barely 1%. And the way we are treating the rivers, this 1% of this precious source of water, I mean, it's beyond stupid, beyond silly. So yeah, bit poison here and there. No, we poison them on a massive scale. And you know, this film shows with one example, but it gives figures and it gives, context. So no, I mean, you should go to the river, you should be bothering about rivers. And this is not, the way to think about, just a river and we pollute it a little bit, it's okay. No, it's not okay.
You covered this, I think, ongoing really scandal with the Oder River in Poland, and the scenes of the fish there, it's just gut-wrenching, really. It's just really horrific to look at. Can you, for viewers who might not be familiar with the story, you may only vaguely know that there was some kind of problem. This was massive.
Well, let me tell you that when I started writing the screenplay, sort of, how this film would develop, obviously that was well before the tragedy on Odra River happened. And in fact, we started our filming in Poland, and we started our filming about Odra, which the idea how to present Odra River in the film was completely different because, obviously I didn't, plan for that tragedy. I did not write it into the script. It completely took us by surprise. It took us by surprise when I already had all the filming done about Odra River. And the idea for telling the story about Odra River among other rivers within Europe was about this crazy plan of turning into some kind of a water highway, which, it's not a very wise idea either. And then, obviously, as it often happens with documentaries, it is not a feature film, so you can't really, you always have to have a plan B and be prepared that things may change, and this is exactly what happened with this film. We were in the middle of our filming, we were surprised with the tragedy on the Odra River. So obviously we were scrambling with changing and adjusting our plan and going back to Odra River to catch, the essence of this tragedy, to show the scope, the scale of this. This masses of dead fish was one of the most sorrowful sights I ever seen in my life. So obviously, the plan A went into the bin, and, we installed the plan B, telling the story of the tragedy. And within that, we also actually mention, insane plans of really treating this river only in a category, seeing it as a kind of financial asset. We are not the only one. This is how rivers are being perceived and treated globally. It is changing, not fast enough, but I think it is going to be still a few years before the sort of the paradigm change comes here.
So as I mentioned at the start of this interview, we're talking about thousands of tons of fish.
It was some insane figure, like 350 tons,
Just incredible,
It
right?
is, it's not just fish. And we talk about it in the film as well. It's just this very rich ecosystem, all those kind of tiny organisms that live in the sort of bed of the river, all that been wiped out by the poison. Effectively, Odra River was dying on 500 kilometers, and the river, the water dies quietly, It was dying and it was manifesting its death through, these tons and tons of dead fish and those dead organisms, this dead kind of rich biodiversity, which we'll never see. And it is something that will be recovering for so much longer than it's been killed, because killing happens very fast. To recover that rich ecosystem takes years.
Then there's this mystery and a lot of claims and counterclaims about who's really responsible.
Nobody. It happens as, so far, nobody actually been taken to, to be responsible, to actually taken to suffer consequences, as it is really summed up very well by one of our chief character who tells the story of the tragedy on Odra River, Michał Zygmunt, who tells that the tragedy happened in a full light of law. Because, the law, it's so vague in terms of pinpointing, the culprit, who is to be blamed, that, I mean, more than a year later, we still don't know who. I mean, there's nobody who is responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess what? I mean, if you go to Kanał Gliwicki, which is the very origin of from where this poison started, you know, pouring into the Odra River, where this sort of golden algae started developing, you go there today, it's a very dire sight. It is happening again and again, you know. Except that, you know, for media, the story is over. You know, nobody writes about it any longer.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point.
It was an article, you saw a picture, some people fishing.
And
with
let's
fish
move on. But now we
Yeah.
have, you know, all kind of different stories, election, this and that, you know, so. And, you know, you just go on kind of groups on Facebook that actually deal with rivers, with this very subject of poisoning rivers. I mean, it's happening, rivers in Krakow. I mean, there are so many rivers here in this country that are being poisoned on a daily basis.
So if I'm a tourist to Poland or just visiting Poland for a bit, is it safe to go in a Polish river or should I keep myself and my kids well away from them?
Well, it is, you know, the fact that I told this big tragedy about Odra River, it doesn't mean that every Polish river paints the same picture. I mean, we still have clean, beautiful rivers in Poland, but unfortunately, the figures are pretty dire. The statistics tell you a very sad story. About 90% of Polish rivers have been either polluted, badly managed, or transformed, but they are all mostly treated as financial assets. And, you know, that's wrong. You know, it is, I think that anybody who, you know, within the kind of globally, who is, you know, fighting, there is this kind of whole new organic movement, sort of grassroots movement of activists who don't look up to hires up for coming with solutions. They simply are becoming very proactive. They are taking initiatives in their own hands. It is, I mean, I can't escape this metaphor, but it is like, you know, David fighting the Goliath, you know. And it is very uneven fight. The point is, you know, trying to keep killing this Goliath slowly. And this is, you know, the story of, you know, how this movement of activists is really trying, you know, very hard, you know, to counteract what's been an official narrative about what rivers are, you know, for ages.
If I was trying to be an apologist, I'd probably say, well, you know, Poland's only, you know, communism and a heavy industry and all of that. But the fact is, right, we've been out of communism now for quite a long time. And
you
in
know,
the European
I mean,
Union for a long time.
mind you, I mean, I have to say that, I mean, it is it has changed and it has improved slightly, but not enough. And these changes don't come fast enough. They are not as profound as they should be. And, you know, the mindset of the decision makers, unfortunately, it's still very much rooted in the past, you know, in the past way, the way that the river's been perceived and the river's been treated. Like I keep coming back to saying the same point, mainly as the financial assets.
Yeah. Yeah, but as you say, it's a story which is bigger than Poland because it's
it
a story
is.
in
I mean,
your
you know,
documentary.
Poland is not the only country.
Yep.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, you have a story of Italy, you know,
Yes.
or you have a story of Sarno River in Italy. I mean, that story is beyond tragic. You
It
know?
really is.
And,
The illnesses you show in the documentary there and the tragedy of the individuals' stories you tell is really upsetting.
Yeah, and the saddest thing is, you know, we are not, as I made a point at the beginning, you know, if I shown some river in a far away country, you know, I mean, who said, yeah, they always have problems.
Yeah.
Now here, it's Italy, is the cradle of our civilization. And it is the very same river that in the ancient times had a god status, was treated like God.
Yeah.
And today it's treated like sewage, basically.
And indeed, really is a sewage pipe.
Yeah.
Eva, the documentary is called Until the Last Drop in English, and it's been getting awards left, right and centre.
Well,
You're
it's
incredibly
not bad
busy.
so far.
Not bad.
Not bad.
It's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
an English understatement.
Yeah.
If I wanted to watch the documentary, where could I go? Is it going to be on the
Well,
general
I mean,
cinema?
we are still not releasing it for public viewing because we are restricted by festivals' rules and regulations. We are still at the beginning of festival circuits, but as soon as we are done with festivals, we will definitely be releasing the film so, you know, the wider public will be able to see. I very much hope that, you know, it will be treated as a kind of compulsory viewing. I think everybody should be viewing this film, modesty apart. And and so far, you know, it's not just festivals, which is obviously very nice to walk on the red carpet, but I'm very, very pleased that we get lots of invitations for all kind of viewings, you know, with different kind of groups of viewers. And there is so much interest in that film that that is like a fantastic award.
I should probably also add, if you watch this documentary, it also is really beautiful. It's kind of tragic and sad to watch. It's simultaneously beautiful, and the soundtrack is absolutely epic as well. We're in no modesty zone at Heart of Poland, by the way. Never, that brings me on to my quick fire round. I'm going to fire a few quick fire questions at you, which I will literally think up as I go along.
Okay.
And let's see what comes out, because I want to talk a little bit more about your career in life.
Oh my God,
Poland
so-called career, yeah.
We haven't got that long because you've done so much, but what's your favourite Polish food?
Ooh, I like sauerkraut, actually, a lot.
Interesting. So ogórki, kiszona.
Ogórki, kiszona kapusta, wow, love it. Sauerkraut.
Supposed to be very healthy.
That was, that was actually, these couple of items are what I was missing most when I was living abroad.
I miss a good old English sausage right now. Not right now, but just in general. Okay, where's your favourite Polish place?
Many. I like seaside, I love Sopot.
Number one. I'm going to force you to pick.
Number one. I would say Sopot with Krakow, the same place.
Oh, 2-day trip. No, 4-day trip.
Yeah.
Okay, where's the one place in Poland that you haven't been, but you actually know you should? Most people say Szczecin to that question.
Oh my God, not that many, you know, but I haven't been to Świnoujście, for example.
Really?
Yeah, I think I should, yeah.
Well, that's an interesting documentary in of itself coming up. Okay, if you were locked in prison for crimes against documentary making, which is impossible for me to believe, and you had to pick a cellmate, any Polish person, dead or alive, and you're going to be in that cell with that person for a long time, so you better pick someone that you can get on with, and who's going to be interesting for you. Who would
Does
that
it have to
be?
be someone I know or not necessarily?
Anyone you like, dead or alive, Polish.
But Polish person?
Yeah. Or with a Polish connection.
With the Polish connection. Oh my God. You know, that you got me on that. You seriously got me on that. I mean, I seriously don't know. I mean, it would have to be someone with whom I could have endless, engaging conversations to keep our spirits up. And it's a number of people I can think of. Honestly, well, you'll have to take it as it comes from me. You know, it is, I don't have one specific person. I mean, now I would say, I mean, he's gone, but what comes close to mind would be my dead father, with whom I had fantastic conversations. He would be a very engaging companion, but he's gone. He's in another universe.
Well, the good news is on Heart of Poland is dead or alive.
Oh, okay. So that would be my dad, you know. He was a fascinating
person.
Lech.
Lech.
Fascinating personality, massive knowledge, always thinking outside the box, controversial. You know, it was very interesting always talking to him.
Oh, I think it took you a little while, but I think he just gave probably the most perfect answer anyone could ever say in that situation.
Yeah.
That's very moving. Okay, what's your favourite Polish book?
Oh my God, again.
Tough one, I know.
Tough one. I mean,
know.
I haven't read Polish book for such a long time. You know, and, you know, with books with me, I mean, like, for example, for the last 3 years, I've been only reading books about water. I mean, you know, so, I mean, I have a stack of books like this that I really would love to read, and I just don't have time. I mean, again, you know, there would be few items on that list. And
I'll tell you what, I'll ask you to write under this film, and you can give a couple of books if it comes in. Okay, if you could teleport in time to any year in Polish history, what year would it be, plus minus?
Okay,
and
well,
why?
I love, you know, the beginning of the 80s, which was very much, you know, I felt it was like the story of my generation. I was then sort of a young student, and all these amazing changes were happening in Poland, and incredibly busy, hectic time. And I remember, like, you know, we were so upbeat, so optimistic. We were thinking, yes, our generation, finally, we will make it. So it was, I mean, Poland was a very different country, very different country. It was pretty rough. life was pretty Spartan, but yet it was absolutely so exciting on so many other fronts.
Yeah. We're coming out of the quickfire round now, so you can relax. We're not going to do any more of those crazy questions. I must ask you, because out of all the guests I've had, and I really have had guests from all sorts of walks of life, Poles, many of them Poles speaking English, I have never met anyone who speaks such good English as you.
Come on.
Yes,
well,
I'm saying it.
I bet it did, because, I spent so many times abroad, and I think working for the BBC for quite a number of years.
I've heard the English is good there.
I mean, I didn't have a choice. It was a pretty good school.
What would your advice be to Polish people learning English?
Gosh, you really have to feel the passion. I always loved learning languages. I was lucky enough to discover quite early that if I had a knack for anything, it was languages. I always loved learning foreign languages. English was one of the first that I started learning. Then having a British husband helped a lot along the way. You just have to feel passion. You just really... I think that with that comes also, the tendency, curiosity, willingness to think outside the box. All that fits into with learning foreign language because it helps.
Well, you've done a good job. And I confirm the BBC, they're kind of well known for the English accent, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, Eva, we're coming to the end of our time. The documentary is called Until the Last Drop, and hopefully it'll be on general release in
It will
due
be,
course.
definitely, I promise. It's just not that moment yet, and we're still hoping for some more awards.
Of course.
Some more recognition, because it's very nice. And, it is a proof that we've done rather well, that we really pick up the right subject at the right time.
Yeah.
And that is in itself very rewarding.
So now, our programme is called Heart of Poland, and we're on the impossible journey to discover the heart of Poland. I think you made a pretty good case for why rivers should be somewhere there in the heart. They're kind of like the arteries and veins of our life.
Our heart wouldn't work without arteries.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's actually a very beautiful metaphor there. Well, Eva, what I'd like to do is now give you the opportunity to talk direct to the camera, just looking over there, and speak your piece to the people of Poland, or anyone who's interested in Poland. Maybe look at the heart of Poland.
Well, I actually spent so many years outside this country. I came back a few years ago, and I'm very happy I did. It worked out very well. I think because of having spent so many years outside Poland and now being back, I've got this rather unique perspective. The message I would like to convey is, think about yourself that you are quite special. You more than you think of. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. And gosh, that's really tough.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think it makes sense what I'm saying.
No, I thought it made perfect sense.
Yeah?
Sometimes when we don't think too much and we just say what's really coming out, some beautiful things come.
Yeah, I think it's, from someone who spent so many years abroad. Actually, I spent more times abroad than I spent in Poland. I would say, think of yourself pretty high. It is a beautiful country and people are fine, and I think that whatever turbulence we are going currently through or we've been going through, that shall pass too, and upwards and onwards.
Absolutely. We've been talking to EWA Ewart, who's an award-winning journalist and documentary maker at Heart of Poland. And Eva, it took me a while to finally get you pinned down, but I'm so glad you came into our studio.
Well,
I'm kind of hoping it won't be the last time.
No, definitely. I'm so pleased. It was really lovely to be your guest, and thank you for having me here. And I'm up for grabs for more talks.
There you go. She's already confirmed that Eva will do another episode. I'm very glad that we got that on camera as well.
Yes.
So we'll hold you
Promise,
to that, Eva.
I usually keep my promises.
Usually.
Yeah.
We've been watching Heart of Poland, and we're on this crazy journey to try and say, what makes Poland tick? How should we understand this country? Does its past have an impact on its future? Are its rivers the arteries and veins that pump into the heart that keeps this country alive? Will we ever find our answer? I suspect we probably won't. But you know what? We're going to have fun on the way. Because what we've been doing is talking to fascinating people like Eva about the fascinating country of Poland, and we'll keep on having those kind of fascinating conversations. So, if you've loved this conversation, you know what you need to do next. First of all, replay it all again. The algorithms absolutely love it. Second of all, share this episode with anyone you think might be interested in the fascinating story of Poland. And best of all, you can go back and watch over 126 other episodes about the heart of Poland, where we have spoken to musicians and authors and beekeepers and basketball players and rally car drivers and all sorts of other different people about what's making this country tick. So I'll see you again.
What a company, to be in.
That was not bad, eh? That was not
Beekeeper,
bad.
yeah.
So I will see you again for another episode of Heart of Poland.